Welcome back, everyone. One of the country's highest profile trials began this week in Atlanta, Georgia, featuring the famous rapper Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffery Williams. Well, Williams is being accused of co-founding a criminal street gang in Atlanta called YSL and participating in gang activity. And while his rapper name, Young Thug, is kind of telling in and of itself, his lawyers told the court they shouldn't take that into account because it actually means truly humbled under God. Take a listen.
But to Jeffery, Thug had a different meaning. Now, some of you read books about Tupac and what it meant to be thug life. Thug life, the hate you give little infants, F's, everyone, meaning discrimination and racism hurts all of us. We teach that to our kids. That was not what Thug meant to Jeffery. Thug meant and means to Jeffery something very personal. It was his path that if he could ever make it as a musical artist and help his family, himself, and as many others out of this endless cycle of hopelessness, he would be truly humble under God. That's what Thug means.
That's hilarious. But just wait, it gets even better, because prosecutors then tried to use Young Thug's lyrics as evidence, like one of his famous songs with rapper Gunna called Pushin' P. But Williams' lawyer again said it had a different meaning, pushing positivity. Watch.
That's not a blood sign. Blood sign's like this. It looks like a B. That is a P. Jeffrey's fingers are down. And what you'll learn is that Jeffrey just released, with Sergio Kitchens, performed known as Gunna, a song that is wildly popular. It's around the globe. It's called Pushing P. And it's positivity. It means any circumstance you're in, if you think positively about something, you can make it through.
Come on, guys. He's not a gang leader. He's just pushing positivity while humbled under God. Criminal defense attorney and former Morris County prosecutor Bob Bianchi joins me now to react to this. Hey, Bob, thanks for being here.
Of course, Andrea. Thanks for having me on. And I love those clips from my network where I host the Law and Crime Network, so you know I had to be accurate.
Oh, absolutely. Not doubting the accuracy at all, even though some people are wondering, is that real, right? I mean, you know, the theatrics, the creativity, it makes me wonder what's happening in law schools these days. Instead of just moot court, you know, practice, maybe they're getting practice at the Improv. And so there's so much that I'm loving about this guy. And as someone who has followed true crime stories and court cases for many years, I've always said the courtrooms are some of the greatest entertainment ever, but this defense attorney brings it to a new level. And you know, but isn't that what has to take place? What is the from your experience as a defense attorney, what matters most to a jury? Is it the performance of the attorneys or the evidence?
You know, Andrew, first of all, I love this profession, and I love being a trial lawyer, as a prosecutor, defense lawyer, because I used to say to my staff all the time, you are on the front row of human nature. You can't write it. You don't have to edit it. It's just so real, and you crawl through the lives of individuals, and you see the way they live. So it's really, really interesting and entertaining. But to answer your question directly, the most important thing to do as an attorney, whether you're a prosecutor or defense lawyer, is to build credibility and build a rapport with the jury. It's very, very important that from the get-go, from the moment, the opening statement is the most critical part where you're finally going to be able to get up and hopefully start to build that rapport. So you not only want to be stylistically pleasing, I guess, if you, for lack of a better expression, but you also want to speak from the standpoint of credibility and believability. And look, we'll see what the evidence shows down the road. But what I was asking myself when I was listening to this opening statement, and by the way, he's an eloquent lawyer, he's a skilled attorney, don't get me wrong, is who's going to be testifying to this? Because that's what an opening statement is. It's not evidence. It's what the attorney expects is going to be produced as evidence during the course of the trial from the witness stand. So is he telegraphing that his client is going to take the witness stand? Because as a prosecutor, I would come back at the end of the case and if thank whatever under God, whatever the acronym was, if that wasn't testified to, I would stick that right in the defense lawyer's mouth that no evidence was ever produced by any witness. So he made a lot of claims out there. And as a lawyer in front of a jury, I hope he's able to prove them, because if he's not, he's going to lose a lot of credibility.
Yeah, but since opening statements really aren't about evidence, they're about setting a tone. They're about trying to appeal to the jury who's not supposed to be on social media. They're not supposed to be researching the definition of thug. It really is up to the prosecutors then at that point to try to hold them accountable to that. But isn't it very common that whether it's the prosecutors or the defense that actually make statements, opening statements, without ever presenting evidence to support it?
Oh, absolutely not. No, no, respectfully. First of all, anybody who gets up in front of a jury, what they say is not evidence, but they tell the jury, and the judge tells the jury before the trial starts, that what the attorneys say is important because it's what the attorneys expect the evidence will reveal in the case. So you never, as a lawyer, first of all, defense lawyer doesn't even have to get up and give an opening statement. In fact, many of the defense lawyers in this case chose not to give an opening statement. But if you do get up and you're going to speak to them and tell them what you expect the evidence is going to produce, you better deliver, because you're going to be held accountable for that at the end of the day if you don't produce it. So it would be, I mean, I teach trial lawyers all the time, and I don't think I stand in a minority by any stretch of the imagination to say, if you get up and you say the evidence is going to show something, you better dag well produce that or see it produced during the course of the trial, or you lose credibility with the jury.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, as a defense attorney, you have to deal with a case that's presented to you, and you have to, and, you know, we hope that our defense attorneys are prepared to put on a vigorous defense. And maybe he actually, how is anybody going to prove, and the prosecutors, that that when this defense attorney stood up and gave that definition, that he didn't believe that definition, that thug meant truly humbled under God. But I want to move on, because in spite of the hilarity, the entertainment value of what went on, this is actually a very serious case, as the gang YSL is accused of violent crimes, including shootings and carjacking and racketeering. I don't know how much of that evidence has been presented yet. What have you seen? And do you think that this defense attorney's tactics are not going to be able to outweigh the evidence?
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. I mean, this is going to be a whopping trial here. There is a significant amount of evidence because there's a RICO charge, which is a racketeering, influence, corruption organization, and the prosecutor uses that because what it allows is that if they can prove that there is a criminal enterprise, then even if one of the defendants was unaware specifically of a crime that was being committed by that organization, if they were a part of it, they're going to be held accountable. So you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So in this particular case, the prosecutor had up to 700 witnesses. I can tell you, as a prosecutor, presenting that kind of case is a mammoth project. You can't put 700 witnesses on the stand. They pared the witness list down to about 400 witnesses. I don't expect 400 are going to testify, but what they have to do is to make sure that they show beyond a reasonable doubt that there was this organization, that it was a gang-related organization, and that the predicate acts and all the things that they are saying occurred with regard to these defendants is obviously proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And don't do that by way of using lyrics, which has been very controversial in this particular case. I don't think it's so controversial, but others opine differently on that. They're going to be using the testimony of witnesses who have already pled guilty, defendants rather, who have already pled guilty. Of course, the defense is going to argue they had a motivation to plead guilty and now testify favorably for the government. But the government has a lot of evidence as far as what they have said in their opening statements. And the defense lawyers are going to be arguing, and I thought did a very good job, Andrea. Let me just say this. I thought he did a really good job of explaining that Young Thug, is a multi-millionaire. He is a Grammy winner. He's in movies. He's got a clothing line. He's not sitting there making sure that dime bags or $30 bags of drugs are being sold and running a criminal gang enterprise that makes little to no money. So I thought that that was a persuasive argument, but we'll just see whether or not, listen, it wouldn't be the first person that started out in a gang, continued to be with a gang as they rose in popularity, specifically in the rap community. So we'll see. It really come down to whether the prosecutor can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the reasons why I love defense attorneys is that they stand as a firewall between us and an overreaching government, and
Yes.
they hold the government to the standard of innocent until proven guilty and beyond a reasonable doubt, and that the prosecutors have the burden of proof. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it.